This is a presentation on the development of a risk assessment for seismic activity in Los Angeles, California, with the use of GIS. The group members include Darian Deonarain, Narina Coppola, Smara Baran, and Navita Mohan. An earthquake is a natural phenomenon described as a sudden shaking on the Earth's surface as a result of a release of stored energy from within the Earth's crust. These events mostly occur along fault lines, which are breaks or fractures in the Earth's crust that occurs when tectonic plates move or shift. The Los Angeles area is well known for seismic activity and devastating earthquake events from various active fault lines, example, Northridge and San Fernando Valley quakes. Software program systems have been developed which aid in emergency response and disaster management planning for the population. Geographic Information System, also known as GIS, can be applicable in mapping population density and fault line locations to develop a risk impact assessment for seismic activity in the region of Los Angeles, California. The objectives include to determine the location of fault lines present in Los Angeles, California, to develop a risk assessment plan for the Los Angeles area, and to determine the population density in areas in Los Angeles. The methodology used in the development of a risk assessment plan for seismic activity in Los Angeles involved the use of Los Angeles County GIS data portal to obtaining the data required. The information on the population statistic for the various counties, as well as the placement of fault lines in the area, were downloaded in the form of shapefiles. This data was then analyzed using ArcGIS software, ArcMap, to observe the relationship between the fault lines and population density in Los Angeles. Also, the position of the faults with respect to population data was used to conduct a risk assessment. Map 1. This map shows the population density of different counties in Los Angeles. The darkest color represents the highest population density, whereas the lightest color shows the lowest population density. Map 2. This map maps the fault lines within Los Angeles, shown along with the population density. This shows the general areas in which fault lines run beneath Los Angeles. In this map, Map 3, the 500 feet and 50 feet buffer zones are displayed in this map. The first inset map shows a magnified version of the 50 feet buffer zone passing through a high-density population in the San Fernando area. This is a table showing population density of areas more than 1,000 within Los Angeles where fault lines intersected. As you can see, the highest population density affected by the fault lines was North Hills, which is located in the San Fernando area of Los Angeles. A risk assessment usually involves three basic principles: the identification of the problem or the hazard, its associated impacts, and management strategies or control measures. In this study, earthquakes were identified as the major hazard. There are 88 cities in Los Angeles. However, as shown in the results, 17 have been identified of having the highest potential of being affected in the event of an earthquake, because active faults pass directly through these areas. A fault is basically a line of weakness in the Earth's crust, usually where two plates meet. Stresses in the Earth's outer layer push the sides of the fault together, hence the reason why areas with fault lines experience more shaking than others, which leads to greater impacts. On February 9, 1971, a magnitude 6.4 earthquake struck the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, which killed 58 people, caused over 2,500 hospital-treated injuries, and resulted in over $500 million in direct damages. Similarly, on January 17, 1994, a magnitude 6.7 Northridge earthquake struck within a few miles of the epicenter of the 1971 earthquake. This resulted in 57 deaths, injured 9,000, and caused damages exceeding $20 billion. In order to reduce such impacts, management strategies can be adopted. For example, buffer zones, as shown in the results in map 3, 2 buffer zones were created. This was done in accordance to the Alquis-Priolo Earthquake Fault Zoning Act, which was developed in California to prevent the construction of buildings intended for human occupancy on the surface traces of active faults and to increase the safety of citizens. The 50 feet buffer zone was presumed to be underlain by active branches of that fault, and as such, the California Code of Regulations stated that the development of structures shall not be permitted within this area. Additionally, a 500 feet regulatory zone boundary surrounding active faults was established in order to accommodate imprecise locations of faults and the possible existence of undiscovered active branches. Also, building codes can be established where retrofitting of soft story and non-ductile concrete buildings can be done. In the 1994 Northridge earthquake, there were no injuries reported from the 1,300 buildings that were retrofitted, and there was less significant damage to these buildings compared to others that weren't upgraded. Also, an earthquake evacuation plan can be developed. For example, ensuring employees and household members are aware of the escape exit that is designed to ensure the swift escape from a specific area enough to avoid danger. In conclusion, the results of this study show that some fault lines pass through areas that have medium and high density populations, and the areas that possess fault lines has a high potential of being affected in the event of an earthquake. Various management strategies have been established in order to effectively reduce impacts caused by seismic activity. This concludes our presentation on the development of a risk assessment for seismic activity in Los Angeles, California with the use of GIS. Thank you for watching. Any questions?